Boom, Baton Rouge was rocking, the rivalry was boiling, and the pressure? Sky high. When Kim Mulkey stepped onto that court against Dawn Staley in South Carolina, this wasn't just another SEC matchup, this was pride, streaks, legacies, and unfinished business colliding in real time. 18 straight losses hanging over LSU. A sold-out arena demanding a breakthrough. And a Tigers squad ready to prove the narrative. But when the final buzzer sounded, the streak lived on. This game had everything: momentum swings, clutch shots, missed opportunities, sideline intensity, and a post-game message from Mulkey that sent shockwaves through the fanbase. You could feel the emotion. You could see the frustration. And you could hear the urgency in every word. If you love elite women's college basketball rivalries, if you thrive on SEC drama, and if you want the full breakdown of what went wrong, what it means, and what happens next, you're in the right. Smash that like button if you believe LSU is close to breaking through. Subscribe for non-stop women's college basketball coverage and rivalry breakdowns. And comment below, what was the turning point in this game? Missed free throws? Late defensive lapses? Or is South Carolina just that disciplined? Let's dive into a showdown that lived up to the hype and left Baton Rouge wanting more. The building was loud long before tip-off. Inside the Pete Maravich Assembly Center in Baton Rouge, the anticipation felt heavy, not just because it was LSU versus South Carolina again, but because this one carried weight. History. Frustration. Pride. And for Kim Mulkey, it carried something even deeper: unfinished business. Across the floor stood Dawn Staley and her relentless South Carolina machine. A program that has haunted LSU for years. A streak that refuses to die. 18 straight wins. A number that echoes in every preview, every broadcast, every graphic that flashes across the screen. And when the final horn sounded, that number didn't change. South Carolina 79. LSU 72. Another chapter in a rivalry that feels more personal every single time. The night didn't begin like a loss. LSU came out energized, physical, emotional. Mulkey paced the sideline in her signature style, animated, demanding, refusing to let a single possession drift. She barked out coverages. She clapped through defensive rotations. She gestured for faster ball movement when the offense stalled. The Tigers traded blows early. Every bucket felt like a statement. Every defensive stop felt like a message. But South Carolina never panicked. They never did. That's the part that makes them dangerous. Staley's squad absorbed LSU's runs like a seasoned fighter absorbing jabs, waiting for the moment to counter. They moved the ball with precision. They spaced the floor. They hit timely threes. And when LSU missed free throws late, the kind that haunt you long after the crowd goes silent, South Carolina capitalized. It wasn't dumb. It was execution. And that's what stung. In the locker room, the silence was. Players sat with towels over their heads. Shoes unlaced but not removed. Eyes fixed somewhere between frustration and disbelief. They had They cut the lead to win. They had the crowd roar. They forced turnover. They created pressure. But championships and streaks don't break on emotion alone. They break on details. And LSU missed just enough details to let this one slip away. When Mulkey walked into the press conference, she didn't look defeated. She looked analytical. There's a difference. She adjusted her microphone, leaned forward, and exhaled slowly before speaking. We had opportunities, she said. Plenty of them. No excuses. No blame game. But also no sugarcoating. She pointed to missed free throws in the final minute. Defensive breakdowns in key stretches. A few possessions where LSU settled instead of attack. That's the difference against a team like that, she continued. You don't get margin. And that's the truth about South Carolina under Staley. They don't give you room to breathe. If you blink, they extend the lead. If you hesitate, they make you pay. Mulkey knows this better than anyone. Because the record shows. She's still searching for that breakthrough win over Staley's Gamecocks since arriving in Baton Rouge. But here's what made this loss different. It wasn't a blowout. It wasn't a collapse. It was competitive. Gritty. Physical. A possession-by-possession war. And Mulkey acknowledged. I saw fight, she said. I saw growth. But growth doesn't put one in the win column. That line lingered. Growth doesn't put one in the win column. For LSU, moral victories don't satisfy anymore. Not with the talent on the roster. Not with championship expectations. Not with the rivalry narrative that keeps resurfacing. South Carolina celebrated quietly, the kind of quiet confidence that comes from consistency. For Staley, it marked another milestone win in a career that keeps stacking achievements. But she didn't celebrate like someone who just extended a streak. She celebrated like someone who expects to. That's the standard she's built. And that's the mountain Mulkey is climbing. Late in the game, LSU had momentum. The building shook. South Carolina's lead shrank. A defensive stop led to a fast break opportunity that could have flipped everything. Instead, a rushed shot. A missed free throw. A rebound that slipped through hand. Basketball can be cruel in those micro moments. Mulkey replayed them in her head afterward, you could see it in her eyes. Coaches always do. What if we boxed out there? What if we attacked the rim instead of settling? What if we made both at the line? In games this tight, what if becomes the loudest voice in the room? The rivalry now carries. It's not just LSU versus South Carolina. It's Mulkey versus State. Two Hall of Fame minds. Two elite two programs chasing SEC and national supremacy. Every meeting feels like a referendum on who owns the moment. Right now, the results lean South Carolina. But the gap isn't as wide as it once. And that's what makes the future meetings terrifying. Mulkey didn't dodge responsibility. I've got to help them close, she said. That's on me. That comment mattered. Coaches who deflect lose locker rooms. Coaches who absorb pressure strengthen them. Her players noticed. You could tell in the way they lingered near her after the press conference ended. The way assistants gathered around to discuss adjustments instead of hanging heads. There was disappointment. But not despair. Statistically, LSU matched up better than previous years. They defended with intensity. They controlled stretches in the paint. They generated open look. But South Carolina's efficiency from beyond the arc and composure in late-game situations tilted the scale. Experience matters in rivalry games. Execution matters more. For LSU fans, frustration is understandable. 18 straight losses is a number that echoes painfully. But this one felt dangerously close. And sometimes that's more encouraging than a random upset. It suggests the door is cracking open. Just not yet. As reporters packed up, Mulkey offered one final thought. We're not far, she said. But close doesn't count. It wasn't fire. It wasn't dramatic. It was honest. And honesty is often more powerful than hype. South Carolina flew home with another win. LSU stayed behind with film to study. Because this rivalry isn't ending. It's escalating. Every loss builds pressure. Every near win builds hunger. And the next time these two programs meet, the stakes will feel even heavier. Mulkey knows that. Staley knows that. The SEC knows that. This wasn't just a regular season game. It was a measuring stick. And while LSU didn't pass it, they didn't crumble under it either. That's progress. But progress doesn't break streak. Execution does. The question now isn't whether LSU can compete. They can. The question is whether they can finish. Because against South Carolina, finishing is everything. And until that changes, the storyline remains the same. South Carolina walks away. Mulkey walks back to the drawing board. And the rivalry burns hotter. If you want the next chapter, the adjustments, the mindset shift, the potential breaking point, stay locked in. Because this story isn't over. Not even close.